everyone. Welcome to the Geek Branch podcast. As you can see, we're very merry and festive. Look at this awesome Funko Town. Uh, as you can see, we also have Dane and Cussler co-hosting alongside with me, Tim. We're very excited to talk about our topics. We really missed you guys last week. We're pumped to focus on each segment that we all three worked on. My segment will be called Branch Wars. And no, it's not always Star Wars topics. It's just that for obviousness, we're called the Geek Branch. And so I was going through trying to figure out some sort of segment name, and I used The Office. There is a famous episode called The Branch Wars. If you're an Office fan, you will remember it. All right, so I have two topics I'm going to go over. The first one is about the big event that went on during the CW Arrowverse this past week, which is Crisis on Infinite Earths. So we're going to talk about that, talk about our opinions, talk about what went down. And then after that, we will talk about the Game Awards. There was a lot that went on. It kind of ended on a dud, but there was a lot of big announcements in between the dud. And one of the big things is that Xbox essentially threw down the gauntlet. They said essentially that this is the beginning of the next great console wars. All right, guys, let's talk about Crisis. So with the Crisis event, we start off with finding out that it has kind of fast forward and it is finally happening. And so we got Arrow, his daughter. We have Earth 2's, it's Earth 2 or is it Earth 38, 36?
Supergirl is Earth 38.
Earth 38. Supergirl, Superman from Earth 38. And we also got the Atom and White Canary. And we got a Batwoman from Earth 1 as well. So we got them all together, and they were supposed to be the last line of defense for Earth 38 before they felt like the Anti-Monitor would essentially wipe off the whole creation of every existing Earth. And so they failed, and spoiler alert, Arrow died in the first episode, but that's not the end of his journey in the Crisis event. So they continue on. They're freaking out. The Monitor tells them there are paragons in this multitude of the multiverse. And so the second episode's all about them going to multiple different universes, going and exploring, trying to find these paragons. And one of them, you get to see Kevin Conroy finally get to play a Batman. And they, in my opinion, totally ruined that situation. And then we got to see Smallville and them kind of end off the Smallville story in a fun, kind of simple
epilogue
fun,
sort of way.
Yeah, epilogue, kind of fun, cute sort of way. And then we got to see Brandon Roth once again as Superman. And in case you're wondering, it is the same Superman that he played before. That is the Richard Donner Superman. So he played after all the previous Supermans as that same one in Superman Returns.
Yeah, he's effectively the Superman from Superman 1 and 2. We kind of eradicated the other Superman movies in between.
Yeah.
And so it's 1, 2 returns.
Yeah. So he exists in that universe, and they had this really weird way of like combining that with Kingdom Come Superman and
a little bit of Injustice.
A little bit of Injustice with how his Superman's people died through apparently Joker gas, although they don't say it's the Joker. He calls them something else.
Yeah, but it's a giant green cloud coming out of a daily planet.
Yeah, you know it's him. So they try to enlist Kevin Conroy's Batman. You find out that his has went a step too far and has started killing off people, including Superman. So the people that went to go convince him to come with them was Supergirl and Batwoman. And they both hurried back because he was going to kill them. And of course, the Monitor says, "Oh, you were the Paragon all along, Batwoman." And so it's just cheesiness galore, and it just keeps going. And the Anti-Monitor essentially does destroy all the Earths. Long story short, but at the last second, what was his name? Pariah. Pariah uses his powers to send the Paragons off to this essentially negative type zone where they believe they can't get to them.
It's the edge of the universe.
Edge of the universe, which is like it's like a negative zone.
Well, technically in the DC universe, it should be the source wall, but
that's what it is.
Okay, yeah.
Yeah, they go to the source wall. It's the edge of the universe.
Because DC universes are finite.
Yeah.
Yeah. So they all get sent to this whatever the source wall, and everybody that's supposed to be there is the new Atom. Of course, they haven't made him the Atom yet, but it's Ryan Choi. It is Supergirl. It is Batwoman. It is the Flash. It is Kingdom Come Superman, whatever you want to call him. And then who else was
Supergirl?
I said Supergirl. So
White Canary.
White Canary. Okay. And so at the end, because we have to wait a little over a month before we actually finish this event, they finish it off by I didn't explain this, but Lex Luthor has been a part of this whole storyline, and he has the Book of Destiny, and he changes Superman's name to his name, and so they swap places, and that's how they basically cliffhang the event series until a month later. And I'm sorry, but this Lex Luthor is a joke, and I'm really annoyed that he's taking Superman's place.
So I have much less negative opinions on
hold up. Let's do this properly. Let's start with the good things from Crisis.
Okay.
In my opinion, there are a lot of good things. I think it actually was a lot better than what you two do. I know.
Well, I mean, hey, that's the thing. We have different opinions.
It has a lot of fan service, which is great. You know, getting to see a lot of characters that you have never seen on screen. That's always fun, and getting to see people that you haven't seen in a while, like Tom Welling playing as Smallville, Clark Kent, and if you haven't seen any of this, you probably shouldn't be watching. But Lucifer showed up too. Tom Ellis's Lucifer, he was great. You know, he did a great job. And in case you're wondering why he was being his usual snarky self from the earlier seasons, is because when they went to go see him, it's 5 years in the past from his timeline. So it's before he met the detective and all that.
Yeah, it's basically the foundational years of Lux.
Yeah. So that's why he is still his hooks up with 15 women in one night type of persona.
I mean, well, it took like 3 seasons for that to kind of die off anyway. So
yeah, exactly. So people were wondering though, because obviously he's not like that anymore.
Right.
Yeah, he's chilled out a lot.
Yeah, but it's OG Lucifer Morningstar.
Yeah, best version.
Right, but hold on 1 second. Let's go in order here.
I'm sorry, we're all over the place.
I know, because
it's just a lot of stuff,
and it's also kind of cluttered in and of itself. But we'll get to that later. Cussler, come on, name me 3 or 4 things that you absolutely loved about Crisis.
I thought it was well thought out. First off, they've been the entirety of Arrow and Flash's seasons have been leading up to Crisis. That's been their primary focus. Even Flash's finale was all about him. Granted, it was Bloodwork as the main villain, but it was him trying to finding a way out of Crisis, basically because it's played by the guy who played as Mohinder from Heroes. He's been told multiple times that he's supposed to die in Crisis, and he does find a workaround around it. A flash from another. It's so annoying.
Hold up now.
I'm sorry. Keep going.
A flash from another universe. The classic Flash from the old TV
90s show.
Yes.
Yeah.
Takes his place, basically saying, the Monitor said the Flash has to die. He didn't say which one. So the classic Flash takes his place. Even has a cut back to his old show. So the reason why that was annoying to me was because that little bit has been building up since like season 1 of Flash, and that is how they resolved the issue. Oh, we have another Flash in the room. We're going to go kill him instead. I mean, it's obvious that he wasn't going to die. I was just kind of hoping they would have found him. It makes sense. Honestly, it feels better to me.
The build up, though, it just felt anticlimactic to me.
Well, the problem is, right, is that if that is not the situation in which Barry disappears off into the Speed Force or wherever he goes in that newspaper article that's been haunting him since season 1, what's going to cause Barry to disappear for all these years?
Well, that's the point, is he was trying to change that. Crisis is what he was supposed to disappear into.
That's what was supposed to cause him to disappear. Crisis is technically still happening. So,
yes. Crisis is still where he's supposed to disappear.
So he could still disappear.
And by all rights, the entirety of Flash's motivation since seeing that newspaper article has been trying to keep it from happening. So this is the logical thing for his story to happen.
Well, but see, the problem is that you said that's the logical thing. My opinion on the matter is that it's not him being proactive in solving that issue. Well, it's someone else solving the issue for him.
Yeah.
Well, you have to remember, for Barry, he accepted the fact that he was going to die. He knew
he finally accepted that episode right before Crisis.
Even then, before that, the entirety of his season leading up to it, he's been training Cisco. He's been trading Killer Frost and Elongated Man. He's been trading all three of them to take his place when he eventually goes. He's accepted that he has to die.
Yeah.
Unlike Arrow, Arrow's entire season is basically him trying to avoid it.
Yeah, he really did though finally accept it.
Yeah, he accepted at the end.
Which this is going to be interesting with him. Yeah.
Well, we're covering a lot of things.
It's a lot. It's a lot.
But
let's roll back here.
Also, just I did enjoy seeing all the characters together, especially a lot of the interactions. I did not watch the lead up episode to Black Lightning into it. I do know that his episode directly ties into it and why he ends up where he does. You haven't.
I haven't watched it. Yeah, either. No.
Well, no. I was saying, Dane, you haven't watched the third episode of Crisis, right? You stopped.
Right. No, I stopped at 2.
Okay.
Well, we're going to get to that when we get to me.
I was going to tell you in the when they're dealing with they're in a room that the antimatter has created that's creating the antimatter wave. Black Lightning shows up in that room right after, I'm assuming, his world is destroyed. Mm-hmm. And basically, first off, he attacks Flash because he doesn't know what's going on. He literally just attacks Flash. They finally get him to calm down and tell him, we're in a world's-ending event.
Right. And so he helps.
And he helps contain some of the they get the other Flash off of the cosmic treadmill that's powering the antimatter wave. But it has a failsafe. If there's not a Flash there, it goes boom and destroys everything at once, which, I don't know why the antimatter wouldn't just want that to happen anyways, but there's one thing. But
I think he's just wanting to toy with him.
Well, no, there would be a reason if he was the Anti-Monitor from the comics, but this one doesn't have that reason.
Okay.
So,
but Black Lightning's basically tries to contain the energy while they come up with a plan to stop it, and OG Barry just basically steals the Speed Force from Barry and says, and told Vibe, put me back on that treadmill. I'm gonna finish this.
Yeah, he said, I've learned a few tricks.
Yeah.
That the mainline Flash obviously doesn't know how to do, which is still Speed Force.
Also, there is one other. Granted, this is something back in episode 1, and it's not necessarily that it's something that I like, but it is a discussion that we had before, Dane. And this is before I had watched episode 1.
Mm-hmm.
You had told me that Superman and Supergirl have a moment where they have to charge a solar-powered tower, basically.
Using their heat vision.
And you told me that Superman burns off first, which you said was wrong. You were wrong. Sorry. Let me.
No, go ahead.
I didn't mean it to come out like that.
No, sure. Correct me.
Superman isn't on Earth for the entirety of before that.
He's on Argo.
Yes, he's not around the Yellow Sun. He has no powers on Argo. He says it himself. He has no powers on Argo.
Yeah.
That is why he was so much weaker. He's literally in retirement.
Well, no. I know that, but Argo has a sun. It's not yellow.
It's not a yellow sun.
It's a red sun.
Okay.
And
they talk about it in the first episode.
Lois
literally
literally makes fun of him for it, and he's saying, without his superpowers, he can't even take care of a baby, and of course,
with the diaper.
Yeah. But anyways, that was just one thing I noticed immediately, because that's one of the first things that happens in episode 1.
Oh no, that's fine. I must have blanked on it. I knew he was on Argo. I knew he wasn't on Earth.
Yeah,
I
knew
didn't know that Argo's sun was red.
I knew the whole Argo thing wasn't going to last anyways, because they're working on doing a TV show with him, so can't be on Argo.
And honestly, I did enjoy Oliver's final stand. I actually thought it was a really good moment for him. The fact that he literally told Monitor, "No, it's not yet. It's not time for."
Yeah, he basically messed up what he thought was supposed to happen. The Monitor expected him to die much later on, and he saved what was it, 1 billion lives?
Yes, yeah.
Yeah.
Out of the 3 billion that they saved off of Earth 38 and brought to Earth 1, about 1 billion of them were saved by Oliver alone because of those few seconds he gave them.
You know, it would have been really great. I mean, I know they got a lot to focus on, but it would have been really cool and kind of funny to see how their Earth reacted to all these other people coming to their planet.
Yeah, that's just a logistic issue, obviously. I mean, when they came up with the original theory, anybody who was listening would have been like, oh, that's going to be problematic. You're going to transport 7 billion people and dump them on another 7 billion people.
Now, I'm not saying it's all good. I still don't care for Batwoman. I still don't care for Supergirl. I really don't like Supergirl in this at all. The Lex...
She's very annoying during the entire Crisis event.
I don't think he's necessarily a bad Lex. I don't think they chose a good actor for him. That's my thing.
They picked the guy. He's
played 2.5 Men. He's the brother from 2.5 Men.
But he played in one of the bad Superman movies. It was like Superman 3 or Superman 4. Sure. But he played Lex Luthor's cousin. So I was really hoping that there would have been a reference to that, but there wasn't.
There is a theory that my roommate currently has, and the reason why Lex took the spot of Superman is when he was going around the different worlds, instead of killing the Superman, which granted that's what we all assume.
We know he killed one.
We don't actually know that.
Well, out of his mouth is his intention of killing them. We don't know that he actually has done anything.
Yeah.
What my roommate thinks is that instead of killing them, he's been collecting them, and that he'll bring them back when after basically during the next 2
What has he been collecting them in that book or something?
Possible. Well, he only has a page, but I mean, it's possible. The Book of Destinies is strong, so by all rights, it could be possible. It could be his way of trying to be a help. And the Monitor did say that they are going to need him. I don't care for it, but I'm not sure. And about that, the Superman that they did go to that Earth and see that was dead, that is the iconic pose from Doomsday. So that Superman could have literally just died from Doomsday.
That's true.
So I mean,
he could have influenced.
I'm not crazy. That's the pose is him lying on a pile of rubble with the flag of his cape, and then Lois over him, right?
Yeah.
Okay, so that is
definitely Superman.
I just want to say I don't like that Lois, by the way, that actress.
Oh yeah, I'm not a fan.
The one that was hanging out with Iris.
Yes.
West and the Daily Planet with
Okay.
Yeah. I'm also
the one that was in all of the other Superman.
You know, it's funny to me. She just falls into another Laurel thing where I don't like her. She literally, for whatever reason, the main heroine that they choose for all of our main heroes, I don't like them. I don't like Iris. I don't like regular Laurel. I like Black
Siren Laurel.
Yeah,
she's much more interesting.
And then I don't care for that Lois. Now, granted, that Lois isn't as important because she's not. Because it's Supergirl that the show is about, not Superman.
Her and Superman's going to be getting their own show here soon, apparently.
Well, neat.
So exciting, right?
Okay.
But anyways, go ahead.
What did you like most about it?
I liked the little cameos. I thought those were neat, like where you saw Burt Ward with his dog, walking his dog.
Adam West Robin.
Yeah, Adam West Robin, for people that don't know.
Mm-hmm.
And then seeing different ones, like the little quick little teaser for Batman 89. Mainly the cameos.
I think we saw almost every live action DC TV show represented.
Even Birds of Prey.
Huntress. Titans.
Yeah. Titans was Hawk and
Jason Todd.
Jason Todd, Robin.
Yeah. The cameos were nice. They were a nice touch. It made it feel more like it was definitely a crisis.
Yeah, they did a good job bringing in as many people as they possibly could, which was a nice touch. They were trying to make this the biggest event that they ever made, and their budget isn't like a movie level budget, so they were working with what they could.
Yeah, well, you could definitely tell.
Yeah, so
there were some budgetary constraints that were very weird.
Yeah,
I'm going to get to that in the negative side.
Not a positive, but a funny thing is that there's people that get so confused with this stuff that they actually think that there's not going to be a Titan season 3 for some reason, because their world is ended currently. Clearly the crisis is going to be resolved. It might be like in the comics where they all become one Earth, and just for the TV shows.
Could be.
Yeah.
But regardless. So anything else that you really liked? I mean, if that's all you got, that's all you got.
I liked Arrow's arc. I like how everybody thought he was gonna. He did die, but he's becoming the new Spectre. I thought it was pretty neat.
Spectre.
Yeah,
Spectre. Sorry, not Spectre.
So you haven't watched episode 3?
Yeah, he's gonna be the new Spectre.
Literally, they go to purgatory to get his soul out because
with Constantine and his daughter.
I'm aware of that because of the Lucifer cameo.
Yes.
Yeah.
Well,
they go there.
They go to his purgatory, which is of course
Lion-Yu?
It's Lion-Yu. Of
Okay.
course it is.
Yeah.
I mean that it makes sense.
It makes sense. The name. I mean, it's in the name.
Purgatory.
Yeah.
But I cannot remember the detective. I believe is who the Spectre originally was.
I don't know his name, but that was he basically was giving the Spectre over to Oliver.
Why is the Spectre in purgatory?
Because I don't know.
We don't know. They never explained it.
They never get. He literally shows up and says,
"We're good.
I have been carrying this power for a long time. It is time for me to pass it on." And he gives it to Oliver.
We don't know how he survived the end of episode 3, but we know that he'll be back one way or another. Maybe he was in purgatory when that all happened. He gets to come out.
Yeah, past that, Constantine, Sarah, and Diggle leave purgatory, go back to the ship, but we don't see Oliver yet. Again.
Yeah, along with Oliver's daughter too.
Okay.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, sorry. Nia was there too.
Mia.
Mia.
Yeah. What'd you call her, Neo?
Yeah, I said Nia. I don't know why.
Oh, I was about to say she's not the one.
Okay.
I can't think of any more.
That's you. Okay.
I don't have too many.
No, that's fine.
Oh, wait, one more. I did like Brandon Roth as Superman. He did a fantastic job as always.
Mm-hmm.
So that was the other positive.
Yep. Okay, so for me, I only watched, just to be completely honest with you, people, 2 episodes 1 and 2, and then I vamped for my own personal reasons. Not to say that like it's not something that you should enjoy, that it's not something that could be enjoyable, but I'm just like, that's my.
I'm out. It's not for me.
That's my hard limit on what I can take. And so I had to just leave. That's just me. So the things that I did enjoy out of those first 2 episodes, of course, are just the nostalgic references. You can't complain about any of those. Going and seeing the other Earths, going and seeing some of these just iconic moments from the history of the entirety of DC, somewhat cinematic, but mostly television. History being played out on screen is always going to be one of the best things. It's no different than the original comic run when you pulled Silver Age and Gold Age moments from across all of DC Universe together in this one giant arc. You're never going to not catch a fan enjoying that. Some of my favorite parts of it actually were the use of scores from previous movies and shows.
Yeah, that was cool.
And, you haven't heard them in years, if not like a full
Batman
decade.
one.
Yeah, right?
Yeah.
And then it clicks on and you're just like, there I am. I'm vibing the nostalgia
at maximum
level.
I was upset they didn't use the Smallville song. They used it the last event, but they didn't use it this event when you went to Smallville.
Yeah, that is true.
Yeah.
But otherwise, they were pretty on point with it. So that, of course, like I said, any fan will be tremendously happy about that. And I'm no different. That's just true. Now, my favorite cameo of all time, period, had to just be Lucifer for all that it is, because it's so important because it isn't the current Lucifer. It is old OG Lucifer from like episode 1 of his own series.
Yeah.
And it's just...
And it's one of the stronger DC shows.
Yeah, and it's been so long since we've seen Lucifer like that it was just jarring to see him come out with 2 babes under each arm and completely forgetting the person's name, completely unhappy to be interrupted about anything or
being
involved
the total
in anything.
playboy that he is.
Even hits on freaking Oliver's daughter.
Yeah, because he doesn't care. It's just he's hedonistic at that point in time in his history, and he's just like, I don't even remember who you are. I remember that we have a deal because I'll never forget a deal.
By the way, did you see what Earth he's from?
Earth 6666.
Yeah, that makes sense.
And then like, wait 1 second, is this Los Angeles? Wait 1 second, is that Lux? It's like, dude, I blew
very
a gasket.
cliche, but as it should be.
It's okay, because that's the only dimension, arguably, where he did decide to leave his throne and just go and romp around on Earth. So I just uber happy about all of that. I enjoyed Smallville, especially
some people were actually upset about it.
Well, because no one. Okay, so that Clark is very unique in that, 1, he never was truly Superman.
Unless you read the season 11 comic series.
Right. Because he never puts on the costume, I don't think.
He does at the very last second.
Right. So he runs most of the entire series without ever putting on the costume. And it's more than reasonable that Superman decides to live a more mundane life. Now, it's always something to argue that any Superman gives up his powers and decides not to fight.
He was very hesitant about using his powers the entire series.
Right. Because that one had a lot more precaution about it.
Yeah.
Secondly, I don't think that Superman has actually given up his powers. There's a reason for that. On his wrist is not the right watch. And I know this is going to seem really strange, but I'm going to run through this theory right quick because I think other people may have caught on to it too. His father's watch that he picks up in the series is black with a white face.
Yeah.
Right? The watch that he's wearing is blue, has a blue face. And it's very strange to me because you know what that reminds me of? That reminds me of the Ring of Victory. If you guys remember the Ring of Victory from Smallville, it's the ring with blue kryptonite in it. Yeah. And, the benefits of blue kryptonite are that as long as you have it on your person, you don't have any Kryptonian powers under a yellow sun, but you're also completely immune to green kryptonite as well.
Right.
So he could be standing in an entire mountain of
That's
stuff.
why I didn't phase him any.
Right. So I'm thinking that there's going to come a point in the later episodes, because I don't know when it's going to appear, because
you think he might actually come back
as a Superman during the last part.
Well, they did say Erica Durance, who plays as his Lois, supposed to be in at least 3 episodes of Crisis. She also plays as Supergirl's mom, so it could be just her coming back for that, but who knows? Hopeful.
But that also lends credibility to what the theory that I had talked about earlier about maybe Lex collected Superman.
Right.
Yeah, he could have collected him.
And the reason why he wasn't so interested in that Superman, besides obviously just that Lex being kind of a douche, was that he was that he's just like, you don't have any powers, so there's no point in collecting you. Yeah. He said it as, you don't have any powers, it's not worth fighting you.
Yeah. Well, because it never made sense that he just suddenly chose to give up his powers.
Well, I don't think that
you can't just.
Well, there's no way of really permanently getting rid of them without going under a red stun.
In his mindset is he lost it in that way by constantly wearing that watch.
Right.
Yeah.
So, and realistically, if the watch ever gets removed and the blue kryptonite is removed, he'll gain his powers back. And this is okay. So I may have been wrong on the Argo argument, and it may be because I was fusing these two thoughts together.
Yes.
That when that Superman takes off that watch, he is supercharged. He's been under the sun this entire time in Smallville, not using any of his powers. So he should just be a living battery of beating. And I may have fused Argo and that Superman, this idea together. Because when it occurs in the series, I'm just like, you haven't used your powers. You should definitely have more energy to put out.
Yeah, but it was because he was under the red sun.
Sun on Argo.
Yeah, which is not the case for Smallville's Clark Kent.
Right, and who's just being unable to use his powers, not having them because of blue kryptonite.
Right.
So that is the 3 big things that really I enjoyed. I didn't dislike Oliver's run. I didn't dislike Barry's interactions.
I did appreciate how much Barry cares for Oliver.
Right. There's a friendship there.
Yeah, that's genuine.
Kind of like a Batman Superman kind of like, dynamic.
Yeah.
But so those were all very enjoyable things. Just every time there is a crossover in the Arrowverse, Arrow and Barry are really good together.
Yeah.
But all in all, though, that's about it for me on the enjoyment side. So I guess we should round around the negatives.
Yeah, we'll go to him first since.
Okay, so what did you not like?
Well, Supergirl and Batgirl.
Of course,
the Batwoman. I'm sorry, yeah. I don't like them. I really don't.
Is it because of how hard they try to push their SJW message?
Granted, I can't say anything much about Batwoman because I haven't watched much of her show.
I heard it does it too, but you've seen it in the Crisis event that they do.
I don't think she's that bad of an actor or actress. I don't think she's that bad, honestly.
It's just the script that's given to her.
Yes.
The writers are the problem.
Yes,
yeah.
The writers are the problem. Honestly, I think she did a pretty good job. I really don't like that Supergirl. Honestly, the best thing I saw about the little bit I saw of Supergirl's current story is apparently Brainiac 5's with them, which is cool
he's so annoying. I'm sorry.
I liked him. He's their Cisco, and I liked it.
Calling him Brainy is the most irritating thing in existence.
Sure, I'll give you that.
The way he talks was just a little bit too over the top for me.
I think it was fine because he's a Brainiac.
Well, I know, but it's just like the really strong accent along with him talking really fast. It just was.
It didn't bother me. I
didn't like it. But each to their own.
But
I mean, you got to remember this Brainiac is 1,000 years forward in the age of the Legion.
Yeah, that and Martian Manhunter, though we haven't seen him do anything yet,
and we'll never see.
Oh yeah, he's another Paragon.
He is a Paragon. He's a Paragon.
He's so unimportant to me because he doesn't act like Martian Manhunter.
But that's the problem. It's not Martian Manhunter's the Paragon. It's Hank Henshaw. That's the Paragon.
Well, they specifically showed the picture of Martian Manhunter for the Paragon. They did not show Hank Henshaw. They showed the Martian Manhunter.
All I'm just saying is that that's
all
that we've ever get out of him.
They were just trying to save some money. His CGI form cost them a lot of money, apparently, I guess. I don't know.
But past that, I still don't care for anything that has to do with her. That's me and Dane actually talked about it. The reason that at least I don't know how much he shares his opinion with me, but we talked about it. The reason I don't care for that Supergirl as much, she's not Supergirl. She's just a Superman. She has his story.
Well, it's just like how Barry got all of Batman's.
Well, no, you mean Oliver?
Yeah, what'd I say?
Barry. Yeah.
Oliver.
The point, like me and Dane were talking about it. Supergirl in the comics is extremely arrogant because she's Kryptonian. I believe that's correct, right?
Well, yeah, she is. She's Kryptonian and she's immersed in the culture. That's the big difference between
this
her
one's
and
definitely
Clark.
not.
Because she comes to Earth in between preteen to teenage years and has had all of that time to learn what it is to be a Kryptonian, learn what Kryptonians stand for, and then she was given a sacred mission to protect her baby cousin on his journey to Earth.
Right.
She has a lot of pride, and that translates into arrogance about her history, her culture, who she is, and what she does.
Right. This is a Supergirl that doesn't have any of that. She came as a kid, like she's literally like 10 years old.
Much younger than she should have been when she drops.
She arrives on a farm. Different farm, granted, but it's still a farm. She grows up with a human sister and has more human morals. Superman is already an established character by this point, same as it is in normal continuity. But this one doesn't have. This one becomes more human and basically takes his story, and not his story, but his problems.
Yeah, she reflects his character more than she should reflect her own.
Correct.
Well, and they constantly try to make her out to be like she's better than Superman. Like they have to make that a point.
Well, in a lot of ways, even in the comics, when she first arrives, she is.
Right.
Because her pod gets waylaid by an anomaly, and she ends up circling our sun for years before.
The reasoning why they try to do it in the show.
The agenda.
Right.
But, yes. Anyways, that is her. She is one of my bigger problems with it. I felt that the literally the going to different Earths and finding the right Superman, I felt it was okay, but I felt that the Lex point was pointless, if that makes sense. Just having Lex show up and making the two Supermen fight, that felt kind of pointless given what everything's happening.
I felt like it was just a way to make an Easter egg about Superman. I think it's Superman 4 where he fights himself.
I mean, it's a nice Easter egg, but that's
essentially all it is.
It felt very pointless.
Yeah.
Sadly, Casey Superman honestly just kind of feels very pointless in this entire thing, which is really terrible.
Because he's not Casey Superman.
Well, yes.
Let's also go through there. He is Reeves Superman. He's the Superman movie Superman. They just tacked on Casey there and gave him the great gray band from Casey Superman.
Yeah. They just gave him a different reason why he has it.
Yeah. And so I sit there and I'm like, you could have had Casey Superman, which is fine, but you guys never touched on Kingdom Come to begin with, so it's okay that he was not there at all.
Yeah.
You know.
Well, they teased Kingdom Come with Bruce too, and that's not the Kingdom Come Bruce.
Not
either.
at all.
Yeah.
The Kingdom Come Bruce is once again far older, and it's also crippled, and it's using a giant back exoskeleton to do all of his work.
That is what this Bruce was, except that this wasn't. This was a Batman that was even worse than that and killed heroes along with villains.
Sure, that's his current condition, but he's acting like Thomas Wayne.
Yes.
That's like that should have just been Flashpoint Thomas Wayne rather than being, Bruce.
That does bring me to another negative point. And Kevin Conroy to me will always be the voice of Batman.
Yeah.
But they, in my opinion, they did him dirty on what
I
they
felt
did
like
with
they
his
were
Batman.
cowards with him. They were like, okay, so Kevin Conroy is not that muscular of a guy, so we're just going to go the easy route and use an exosuit on him.
Well, that is Kingdom Come Batman.
Right.
That he ran himself into the ground.
And instead of letting him be Kingdom Come Batman, let's give our own little twist to it, because his voice is so terrifying compared to most other Batmans. You know,
he does have the voice. Yeah.
Yeah, he has the voice. Why don't we make him become the bad Batman?
Which so that could have just shot him out as Thomas Wayne. That's all I'm saying. He could have just have been, because Thomas Wayne is much more terrifying than Bruce.
He is Batman. They should have given him way better treatment.
Yeah. Right.
They've never treated Kevin Conroy to the standard that they should.
Right. But continuing on.
There's not too much else. Episode 3 was pretty okay to me. Not.
What about the Lila arc with Anti-Monitor?
Nobody cares about that.
Lila was Harbinger in this.
Yes. Yeah. She's Harbinger in this, and she gets taken over by the Anti-Monitor.
Yep.
Which is canonical to the comics, though the process is much
different.
Yeah. I had
it had its Arrowverse twist to it.
Honestly, if I have any complaint about episode 3, it's the fact that they gave Vibe back his powers. And I realized that they needed to give him back his powers.
No, he's actually arguably one of the most important characters in this situation.
Yes. No, I'm not saying he's not. I'm just saying
he was annoyed that he was getting his powers back. Like, we get it, but you know that like all these Earths are being destroyed right now, right? Like, get over yourself.
It's a call to action that he was really not willing to accept, which only reflects poorly upon his character.
Yeah.
Well, it's not necessarily that it reflects poorly on him. It's the fact that he spent the entire half of season, the previous season, and all of this season coming to terms that he was more than just his powers. Yeah, and he didn't want he wanted to prove himself without his powers and everything like that, as well as like he didn't want to be Vibe anymore because
which is fine. And I'm not saying his character arc doesn't justify his feelings, but I just have to.
He had to push that aside
immediately because this is the call to action, and any superhero throws that.
Like to be fair, the Monitor didn't even give him a chance. By the way, Monitor literally snaps his fingers and gives him his powers back.
Yeah,
it's the Monitor.
Yeah.
I mean, it's the Monitor. There's nothing wrong with what just occurred here.
No, but it's just that he felt, he should have probably said, "Hey, I'm about to give you your powers back because we need you."
No, he should have.
But he's a god, and his
functionally, And so a lot of characters should have been given this treatment. You know what I'm saying? In fact, one of the things that they should have done if they were going to play it out fully is that like Superman off of the Argo should have just been like, okay, you don't have enough power, into a sun. Like you didn't.
I also felt like Monitor was way too nice to Oliver.
Right? No, he is. He is much more considerate than he ever was as a character. Otherwise, Like literally, Superman should have been tossed into a yellow sun, no questions asked. He should have teleported in front of the Monitor, teleported into a sun. We need you to charge. You don't get to ask questions about it. You don't get opinions.
People who are godlike like him don't think about the human level mentality when it comes to crisis events.
Well, not only that, but like one of the things that's just not carried over as well from the comics to this event is that the Anti-Monitor is an unexpected threat, and it causes a giant amount of panic in the Monitor himself.
Right.
Because in the comics, it's a random series of, well, not necessarily random, but a unfortunate series of events in the antimatter universe that allows the Anti-Monitor to cross into ours.
Yeah.
And that never should have happened. It's just like in the infinite amount of time those two beings would have existed, they never should have met. And so the Anti-Monitor came over with a specific purpose to just destroy all matter.
Yeah, made sense.
And the Monitor's like, this is not in the book. This is not in the script. There's nothing and no one, and this doesn't make any sense. And you get that in the comics that he has no way of knowing how this is going to play out. And so he has a fear that is unbeknown to gods. And that fear makes him act
irrational
for him.
Right. And also kind of brutally. You know, this has to be solved. There is no suggestion. If your feelings don't matter in this situation. Right. If I'm telling you, Oliver, that you have to die, there is no negotiating. You don't pick the moment either. I will ensure you die when I need you to die. He should have been a much more forceful character.
I mean, I get why, because Arrow was the one that started it all. They wanted to make sure that they treated his arc right.
Right. And even if he is that particular character, even if he needed to, I'm just saying that it's never was supposed to be anyone's choice.
Right.
It's all about what the Anti-Monitor wants. That's what Harbinger was doing. Literally going to different universes.
And that was Pariah, before he became the Pariah, his whole issue with the Monitor.
Right. And it's Pariah's accident that causes the Anti-Monitor to allow him to get here.
Sooner.
Yeah, then, well, the two universes never should have met. Antimatter and matter don't interact. They just coexist.
Right.
It's in the negative spaces. But regardless, as we go on, so I think that covers everything that you dislike. Tim, what did you...
Before I say the dislikes, a lot of times with the Arrow shows is they focus a lot on the soap opera side of things because it's a CW show. I do have to commend them for not focusing on the soap opera-esque sort of nature of the Arrowverse. It was a little bit in there, but not as much as it usually is. So, congrats to them for actually trying to make this into a real superhero show. Trying is the key word. There is a lot of loose plot lines. They give very poor reasoning why some of these people are in here. They also pick random people for the Paragon as just an excuse to use people that are already part of mainline Arrowverse instead of trying to properly bring in new characters that would make more reasonable choices as the Paragons. Even though, from my understanding, Supergirl was a Paragon. Was she?
No. Okay, so the four. Well, yes, she could have been. I'm not exactly clear on remembering who all was so important. I just remember the last final four, and they were Superman 1, Kal-El, Superman 2, Kal-El, which is just an L, not EL, which are basically modern and Silver Age Superman, and then there's Superboy Prime, who is non-existent here.
He ain't gonna pop up,
right?
Unless his theory comes out true.
And I'm pretty sure that the fourth member is not Supergirl. Yeah, I think it's 3 Supermen and then
like a Batman or something.
No, not a Batman. I'm actually gonna have to Google it.
Maybe a Green Lantern.
I'm actually forgetting the last one.
I just with the Arrowverse, there's a lot of constraints to what they can and can't do. A lot of it comes down to the executives behind DC that doesn't allow them to use certain characters, which has always been a very annoying thing, like with how they handled Suicide Squad, where they were letting them use Suicide Squad, and then they decided they weren't going to let them use Suicide Squad, and so they had to kill them off for a while. It's just a lot of logistical issues that has hampered the Arrowverse a lot. I can tell they really tried to make this into something really big. But I just don't like the Arrowverse.
Oh yeah, it's Alexander Luthor.
Oh, okay. Yeah, so one of the Luthors.
Yeah, it's all super family. I do that, but it's Alexander Luthor of Earth 3.
Okay,
it's the fourth member. So Superman.
So they should have really. See, that's my point. They should have not used an Arrowverse Lex Luthor. They should have came up with bringing along this other Luthor. I didn't read the comic.
Alexander's heroic. There are 3 of them. There's Lex Luthor, who is our more villainous entity. Alexander, who's more heroic, and then Alexei, who is
in between.
Somewhat, basically. Yeah, it kind of plays an anti-hero-ish role.
But I understand, like I said, I understand the logistics. They have to have a lot of back and forth with corporate to get a lot of this stuff approved. So it's a big headache. So that's my big issue at the end of the day with the Arrowverse is how DC corporate handles these shows where they don't allow them to use certain characters because they're afraid people are going to get confused. They should allow more freedom for the creators where they can use whatever character they want to use because people understand it's a show that's separate from the movies and give them a bigger budget too.
Yeah, definitely need budgetary help.
Yeah, so at the end of the day, most of my issues is most people think that I guess most of our friends think I just hate the actors or something. It's not that. It's that I hate that DC execs holds Arrowverse back. They could give them the same budget that they're giving DC Universe, which they're not even handling DC Universe, right? Which that's a whole nother topic for a whole nother day.
Right. And that covers all of your negatives?
Covers all my negatives.
Okay. So heading over into mine. So I stopped in 2 episodes, which obviously entails that I had a much more negative opinion on things than most people who are continuing to watch and are going to finish the series out. So for me, one of the biggest things about the fan service or just the nostalgia favors that the producers were giving us was that they also had budgetary constraints there where I didn't think it would be necessary. So we go into one of the Batman universes, which I'm thinking is Burton's Batman.
Yeah, Batman 89, where that character was in the movies.
Right.
The one reading the newspaper.
Right. So, and then there's a bat signal that goes off.
Yeah.
And rather than it being Burton's bat signal, it's Batwoman's. Because, like, her signal is really easy to distinct because it's thinner and sharper than normal Batman's. And I'm just kind of like, I understand that there could be budget constraints. Like, I totally get it. But does it have to show here? I know it seems so minor.
Because the bat signal should have been something that shouldn't have mattered.
Right, like...
But that's probably not budgetary. Like I said, it's probably something to do with the exec saying, you can't use Batman, Tim Burton's bat signal, and yet you can use his universe, but you can only use one of the minor characters that no one's really going to remember who he is.
Right. So I sat there and I'm just kind of like, no, sir. I'm sorry. Like, it took me out of it.
Why did they disrespect Lois and Clark? I mean, they used the guy who played Dean Cain as a character in the first few seasons of Supergirl. Why didn't they have him in the? I don't know if she's still alive. I don't know. But if she is, why didn't they do a little Easter egg for them?
Don't know.
They could have done a few more Easter eggs, I felt like.
Yeah. I mean, once again, I don't know if that's budgetary concerns or not, but it's kind of like I'm okay with what I got, but it was strange that it wasn't complete. You know what I'm saying?
Well, you couldn't have done much with Burt Ward's Robin.
Right, no, and I was perfectly fine with
because that guy he's on up there in age. He's in his 70s, I think.
Yeah, all I'm saying is that, like, I giggled.
Yeah,
you know what I'm saying? I had a moment of nerdy exuberance, which is great.
Well, and if you know the actor, it's more funny that, of course, he had to have his dog. The guy owns a dog food company that, if you see, like, the bag, it has, like, the worst looking, like, I don't know who he hired, but it has, like, all these crazy looking words everywhere and stuff. It's a hodgepodge mess, whoever came up with the bag, but it's really funny.
All right. Yeah. So, like, that is minor. That was just one of the things that, like, kind of took me out of it. But the biggest thing that made me stop is just inconsistencies of character, right?
Yeah.
Because obviously this crisis and this crossover, which it has a different purpose than the original. And if you have to carry anything over from the original comic book crossover into the Arrowverse crossover, is that you keep the intent of the crossover. And what the crossover was really meant to do, besides culminating all of these alternate timelines and weird character moments into one big singular universe, it's also meant to define the characters. This is definitively Superman. This is definitively Batman.
They really didn't do a very good job with Barry.
Right. Where you get this feeling of
they had, like, the one moment where he was trying to save the other Flash, and that's about it. The other is just him focusing on saving Oliver.
Right. And so one of the things that should always carry through strongest here is character. And the characters here, outside of a very specific few who really just you can't really change, and that they still live up to who they are, because they just had so much development that it's hard for you to screw this up, like Oliver.
Yeah.
Other people's characters fell through. Just, you know, and that really was painful to me. So, for instance, one of the big ones is Superman.
Yeah, they didn't give him good treatment at all.
Across multiple iterations of it. Because either they're missing out on the part of Crisis, where Crisis is supposed to... Every individual thing that is supposed to happen does happen. And so anything that seems strange, like the time Superman had the ability to morph his face, the Superman that appears in Crisis in the comics can morph his face.
Right.
If it appeared, it works. So two things. One, you get Superman on the Argo, right? As opposed to Superman in Smallville, who has given up his powers and has settled into a family life.
Yeah.
There just isn't ever going to be a Superman that does that. Right? Something has to...
Tom Welling would have totally have done more episodes too.
Right.
Like, he would have been all in on the Crisis. Like, he said that he was totally fine with doing this.
Yeah, no, so like, my point being is that, like, so you have a Superman, and just as a Superman, this is should be true of all Supermans across all universes where that Superman is not dark or evil.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? They're not going to stop being a hero.
Yeah.
That's just not something that a Superman character does. You have to do something drastic. And Kingdom Come is a perfect example of it, where even after the horrible thing that happened in Kingdom Come, which is the destruction of an entire state and just this entire chaotic world where superheroes have become vigilantes and are murdering people left and right, and it's terrible. And that Superman just goes and retires.
Right.
He still comes back.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? Because he's Superman.
Right.
The only thing it took was another hero coming and being like, Clark, the world needs you. And he's just like, I've been sitting on my butt for 30 years, kind of depressed, but the world needs me. And he gets up and he goes immediately back to doing what he used to do.
Also, if we had him go with the team that went to go get Lucifer, you know how funny it would have been? Because Lucifer, if it was like present day Lucifer meeting him, he's like, you look familiar.
Yeah, it would have been really cool.
Because people that don't know, Tom Welling played as which one was it? It was the two brothers. The one that killed his brother. Cain. He was Cain. And that would have been really funny. He did a really good job as Cain.
Because he's Cain and Lucifer, yeah. So it would have been kind of.
Have you watched Lucifer?
No.
So you wouldn't have gotten the Easter egg, but it would have been a nice moment.
It would have been a really meta moment too.
Yeah.
That a Superman just appears. He's just like.
Because the only meta moment we got was with the Atom and the Brandon Roth Superman.
Holy doppelgangers.
Yeah. But so. And then we go on to this, and I'm just like, okay, so one, we have an inconsistency in character, which is horrible. But then we also just have an inconsistency in what Crisis is meant to be, which is any powers that you show someone having, they should have across different continuities. So let's go to Reeves Superman, who is the Superman that gets the Kingdom Come story arc. If anyone remembers the Superman movies, you know that Reeves can travel back in time.
Right.
So you can't give him the Kingdom Come storyline because when that bomb goes off and kills everyone in the Daily Planet, he can travel back in time and
reset that.
Fix it.
Yeah.
Like that is that Superman.
But they made it into their own version of him at the same time but for the constraints of the show.
Yeah, I know, but I'm like, even so, it's kind of just a real standout point that if you give someone a power, right?
Yeah.
They should have that power. Because that's what Crisis is supposed to be. It doesn't matter how nonsensical the power is. That Superman, and it would have been really cool to see it, can travel back in time.
Yeah.
So when one of the Earths gets destroyed, he can be that guy who's like, in fact, when they're doing the big transfer and they're trying to move all 7 billion people over to the other Earth.
Yeah.
And they're like, okay, well, they could have failed. They could have had all those people die. And that Superman could have rewind time.
Yeah, but that...
I know it seems strange. I know it seems campy. I know it's not like the best thing ever, but it's kind of an inherent Easter egg there that is what that great Superman can do. And if that Superman was like, the Anti-Monitor could easily look over there and be like, okay, that has to be handled. And the Anti-Monitor removes that Superman from the playing board because that Superman's really powerful.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? I'm just like, that's not too horrible.
They could have made him a bit more powerful than they did. That's for sure.
Right. Because these are alternate universes.
They definitely downscaled him by a lot, depowered him a lot.
And so I'm like, especially when they have the Superman versus Superman fight.
Yeah.
Like,
he should have donkey stomped the other one. No offense.
Which kind of does.
He could have been holding back. Well, he wouldn't be able to hold back because of the Book of Destiny telling him to do those things.
Like hard mind controlled.
Yeah.
There is no minority to that. They had to take the book away to actually get him free.
Which was really dumb how they took Lex out. Oh, we're just going to hit him from behind. Like
surprise attack, yeah.
Like someone who, I mean, sure, he's a businessman, but he's not a soldier or something, but he's a seasoned fighter at this point from all his fights from Superman. He wouldn't easily fall into the trap.
Not this Lex.
Not that Lex. Like normal continuity, Lex is actually very close to Batman.
Yeah.
Just he handles things relying harder on technology than Batman does.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? But Lex and Batman are very similar characters.
Yeah, he would have had some sort of way to protect himself from something as cheesy as that.
Right. He literally would have had a force field.
Yeah.
You know, that's Lex.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? If he wasn't wearing the giant green armor.
Of course, you know, Richard Donner's Gene Hackman's Lex Luthor was a very cheesy, not very comic accurate
Lex. Which is fine. But all I'm saying is I'm just like, you're missing some very important things. But beyond that, other characters are occupying characters' roles. Like we go over here with Supergirl and we bring that up. So Argo just gets annihilated.
Yeah.
right? Which in a really
Supergirl cannot get over that.
Well, not only that, but let's hold up for just a second. Argo gets annihilated, which is okay, that happened. And it's a false death because Harbinger goes and saves everyone but Supergirl's mom.
She only saved Superman and Supergirl.
Yeah.
Okay.
Or not Superman. She only saves Superman and Lois.
Yeah.
There's
so why Lois?
There. There's 4 characters in the room, though, aren't there?
No.
It's just 3? Because I know Baby Jonathan gets launched.
Yes.
Yeah.
So Baby Jonathan gets launched. The two Superman and Lois who we think die get saved by Harbinger.
Yeah.
And isn't also Supergirl's mom?
She's in the room.
No, she's not. I don't believe she is.
No, there's a third character in the room, a third adult.
I don't think there is.
Yeah, she is, because remember they put the baby in the ship and she said this is the last one we have left.
Yeah. Well,
so she was in the room too. So why pick up Lois and not her?
Right. You saved those two. You just left her to die.
Yeah, because Lois doesn't matter.
Well, remember, she's also being used by the Monitor, so she literally grabbed who was important.
Which is fine.
Yeah, but why is Lois important?
Because she's important to Superman. We're about to get into like Snyder levels of using Lois as a motivation. But regardless, so Kara's mom dies. Baby Jonathan gets lost in a temporal wormhole and ends up on another Earth at another time, which is fine. And Superman freaks out about that. And so we get this scene where it's Kara who's sitting down and giving the heroic pep talk to Clark.
But that's like that shows constant relationship with each other.
Right, which is fine because that's how they kind of just play these two characters out in this universe. But I'm like, okay, so Clark's son is missing, which is terrible. Your mom just died.
And you're giving the pep talk?
And you're unpulsed. Like she cares about it, obviously, but like she's the one who's like, you need to get up.
But then she does have a problem with
later on. Right, when I'm just
and like Batwoman's like got apparently some kryptonite from Kevin Conroy's Batman that she thinks about using against her.
Yeah.
Because she's unstable, Supergirl is, later in the
But she handles it so freaking well after it immediately happens that I'm just like, oh, this isn't going to be an issue.
Yeah, and then it becomes an issue, that was probably one of your issues with Supergirl, how she handled that whole situation, because it was poor acting on the actress's part at the end of the day.
Yeah. And so there are also these contrivances. Okay, so one of the big things from the comics that just isn't here is, and there sort of are, but the Anti-Monitor has demons. Yeah. Okay? And there are 2 types of demons.
Well, they might be in the next part in the next 2 episodes.
But the window for them to have made this relevant plot point is kind of gone.
Okay.
So the Anti-Monitor has demons, and there are 2 types of demons. There are demons that are just the massive horde of death that he brings with him. They're mooks. They're like parademons from Apocalypse.
I was about to say like parademons.
And then there are or shadow demons who can literally possess heroes.
Yeah.
And that's the reason why, by the way, the Anti-Monitor takes so long in destroying Earths, is that he generates power from doing so and can also use that to create demons. And those demons can go and hijack heroes. In the comics, the Monitor dies because a shadow demon possesses Harbinger and Harbinger ganks the Monitor.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
So
none of that happened.
Right. And this entire like premise is gone. And without the demon generation or explaining how the Anti-Monitor builds his army and what he does, the fact that
you don't even know he has an army.
Right. The fact that it takes so long to
well he does send off what they fight in the first episode.
So yeah, what I'm saying is that the fact that it takes so long to get to that and to explain that it makes no sense why it takes so long to blow up Earths, or the reason why he wants to use the cosmic treadmill of the Flash as a part of making his. You should just wipe.
Yeah, there's a lot. Like I said, there's a lot of loose plot.
It's just not there because you didn't bring it up. And then the most contrived thing is that we're sitting here in the last zone. The last bastion, what has to be held here, or else all is lost. And so we obviously need our most powerful hitters. And in Crisis, the 3 most powerful characters are arguably Superman, Supergirl, Flash,
Martian Manhunter.
Well, Martian Manhunter.
He is powerful.
He is arguably a Superman analog with just a different weakness.
Yeah.
So yes, Martian Manhunter should apply as well. But regardless, these are the 3 characters that you would think of, though, that you would want to be here to take on an infinite horde of demons that are bum rushing you, trying to get past you and take this location. Because they're the people that could possibly clear the most of them.
Instead, you got Arrow.
Well, but we're to get there. So this is the thing that really irritated me. And the reason why I just had to kind of just drop. Oliver talks to the Clark in the same way that Supergirl does. And he says, I know you want to go and find your son. And I understand that is super important, especially with universes just dying all over the place. You want to get to your son before your son gets in danger. Perfectly a reasonable thing to do, Clark. But we need you here. And Oliver convinces that Superman to stay and hold his ground here and to put aside his love for his son to protect the entire multiverse.
Yeah.
Okay, so tell me why, when an earthquake hits Earth, the Superman and Supergirl...
Hold on. You're getting everything mixed up, Dane. The earthquake happens at the beginning of the episode, and it's what causes... it's literally what makes the tower show. It's what all of Earth 38's it's what gives them the warning that crisis is coming.
Right.
Superman isn't even on Earth at that point.
But hold your horses though. What is the reason for him leaving the tower?
They're at a different point in the tower. They're literally at different points. They put all of these superpowered people at different points, and then all of the non-powered peoples at one point.
Yeah, because they were all there.
They were all... Flash wasn't there.
Yes, he was.
Yeah, he was.
Literally, the beginning of the episode isn't there because
they just focused on Oliver and his daughter.
The beginning of the episode is literally Flash isn't there only because he's doing recon on other planets to find.
And then he shows up right when the demons or whatever they are show up.
And he all of them are there, and they even come in at the end saying need some help.
Yeah.
So
but it is annoying that it's Oliver that makes the last stand, not Superman. It's more in Superman's character to be the one to make the last stand.
But it is what Oliver has been building up to this entire time.
Right.
So it made sense from the story that we've got.
Yeah. This doesn't line up with we would assume.
I'm just saying
Superman.
that like when the giant fight goes down, it's Batwoman, Adam. I mean, when the big battle is occurring,
that's who we see.
Yeah, and I'm just like, where are the heaviest hitting characters that you have in this massive battle?
Yeah,
they wanted to focus on.
They're at different points in the tower. And
they wanted to focus on Arrow.
And then at the end of it, when they're doing their true last stand on the planet, it's all of them right before the tower falls. It's everybody, and then Monitor starts plinking them back to a different Earth. To the I don't actually. Does he take another Wave Rider? No, they don't have the Wave Rider yet. At that point, I think he just takes them to Earth 1. At that point, because he takes all of them, and he's about to take Oliver, and Oliver
they're going
him no.
to Oliver's base.
Yeah.
Okay, that's fine. I assume they were off planet handling different business, which Barry was doing, but I'm just like, you guys should all be.
But by the time that they had came, they were already back.
For the battle, everybody was doing something.
But there was a lot going on, so I could see why you got confused.
Just missed it. Okay,
yeah,
that's fine.
There was a lot in that first episode. They were trying to pack in a lot of stuff. So that's understandable. In fact, the first two episodes, really, the 4 and 5, when we see that, is going to be a lot more condensed. I mean, it's going to be more focused on a smaller amount of characters. So we will actually get a much more straightforward storyline other than all this stuff going on at once.
Presumably because a lot of people have been wiped out at this point.
Yeah, supposedly. But that was our first topic. There was a lot going on with Crisis. There was a lot of opinions, a lot of information to process. So this is probably going to be one of our longest episodes. If you did watch it all the way through, we do appreciate it. I just want to say thank you for coming back after us being off for a week. Thank you so much for allowing us to get to the root of our geek culture with you.